In the previous video, we saw that a function f from Rn to Rm is differentiable at the point C if and only if there exists some m cross n matrix, let's call this matrix A, such that limit h tends to 0, f of c plus h minus f of c minus ah, that means the linear map A acting on h whole divided by norm h is equal to 0. Now we know that f of c plus h can be rewritten as f1 of c plus h, f2 of c plus h, etc. up to fm of c plus h. Similarly, we can write f of c as f1 of c, f2 of c, etc. up to fm of c. We also can write ah as a11 into h1 plus a12 into h2 plus etc. up to a1n into hn. This will be the first term. In general, the ith term will have the form ai1 into h1 plus ai2 into h2 plus etc. up to ain into hn. We also know that this limit will be equal to 0 if and only if the limit of the ith coordinate is equal to 0. In other words, limit h tends to 0, fi of c plus h minus fi of c minus ai1 h1 plus etc. up to ain hn whole divided by norm h is equal to 0. But notice that ai1 h1 plus ai2 h2 plus etc. up to ain hn can be rewritten as ai1 ai2 etc. up to ain dot h1 h2 etc. up to hn. Therefore, we can rewrite this limit in this form. And notice that this limit is also equal to 0. But this is now in a familiar form. More precisely, we know that this implies that fi is differentiable at C for all I, and moreover, the gradient of fi at C is equal to ai1, ai2, etc. up to ain. As this is true for all I, this would imply that aij is equal to del fi by del xj at the point C. Thus, given a function f from Rn to Rm and a point C in Rn, we can define a matrix Jf of C. The ijth entry of this matrix will be equal to del fi by del xj at the point C. Due to the importance of this matrix, we give this matrix a name, namely we call it the Jacobian of f at the point C. Let us now try to understand what this Jacobian matrix would be for the two familiar cases. First, we consider functions f from R to Rm. In this case, the Jacobian matrix would be a column matrix where the column elements are f1 dash of c, f2 dash of c, etc. up to fn dash of c. On the other hand, if we look at functions f from Rn to R, then the Jacobian matrix would be a row matrix, and the entries of this matrix would be del f by del x1, del f by del x2, etc. up to del f by del xn. Now notice something interesting. When we are studying functions f from R to Rm, the Jacobian matrix exists means that each component is differentiable, which means that f has to be differentiable. On the other hand, given a function f from Rn to R, Jacobian matrix exists just means that the partial derivatives exist. And this does not necessarily mean that f is differentiable at the point. And for the same reason, more generally we can say that if n is greater than or equal to 2, then irrespective of the value of m, we cannot conclude the differentiability of f from the existence of the Jacobian matrix. Let us now look at some examples starting from very basic examples. First, we will look at a function f from R2 to R2 defined as f of x1, x2 is equal to a1, a2. That means it's a constant function. Now, by computing the partial derivatives, we can see that the Jacobian matrix for this function is the zero matrix. And we will show that this function is indeed differentiable. To see this, notice that limit h tends to 0, f of c plus h minus f of c minus 0 matrix times h whole divided by norm of h is equal to limit h tends to 0, a1 comma a2 minus a1 comma a2 minus 0 comma 0. But notice that a1 comma a2 minus a1 comma a2 is equal to 0. Therefore, this limit is equal to limit h tends to 0, 0 comma 0 divided by norm h. Thus, this limit is equal to 0 comma 0, which is the 0 vector. And thus, we know that the function f is differentiable. More generally, given any constant function from Rn to Rm, that means you are considering a function f from Rn to Rm defined as f of x1, x2, etc. up to xn is equal to a1, a2, am, then this function is differentiable and the Jacobian would be the m cross n dimensional zero matrix. That means it's an m cross n matrix with all its entries being 0. Now let us look at a slightly more complicated example. This time we are going to look at a linear function from R2 to R2. More precisely, we are going to look at a function of the form f of x comma y is equal to ax plus by comma cx plus dy. Now, because this function is linear, it should be intuitively obvious that this function is differentiable. And it's easy to check that the Jacobian of this matrix is the matrix A, B, C, D. I leave it as a homework to check that this function is indeed a differentiable function. For this, you would have to verify that the appropriate limit is equal to 0. And I am sure you will be able to do it on your own. And in fact, the same idea works even if we have linear functions between Euclidean spaces of different dimensions. For instance, if we have a map f from R3 to R2 defined as f of x comma y comma z is equal to ax plus by plus cz comma dx plus ey plus fz, then once again this function is also differentiable. And the Jacobian of this function would be a, b, c, d, e, f. Once again, the proof that this function is indeed differentiable is not so difficult. Therefore, I am going to leave it as a homework for you. Please work these out and convince yourself that these functions are indeed differentiable. That means our intuition is correct. Finally, we will look at a somewhat complicated example. More precisely, we are looking at the function f from R2 to R2 defined as f of x comma y is equal to x square plus y square comma 2xy. Notice that the Jacobian of this function at the point C is given by 2c1, 2c2 and 2c2, 2c1. That is the Jacobian matrix. Now let's try to prove that this function is indeed differentiable. For that, we will have to show that limit h tends to 0, f of c plus h minus f of c minus the Jacobian of f at c acting on h whole divided by norm h is equal to 0. But first let us try to understand what these different terms are. F of c plus h is equal to c1 plus h1 the whole square plus c2 plus h2 the whole square, comma 2 times c1 plus h1 into c2 plus h2, which can be written as c1 square plus h1 square plus 2c1 h1 plus c2 square plus h2 square plus 2c2 h2, comma 2 times c1 c2 plus 2 c1 h2 plus 2h1c2 plus 2h1h2. Similarly, f of c is equal to c1 square plus c2 square, comma 2c1c2. And finally, the Jacobian of f at the point C acting on h will give us 2c1 into h1 plus 2c2 into h2, comma 2c2 into h1 plus 2c1 into h2. Once we have these three terms, we can subtract them component wise. And when we do this subtraction, we can cancel off many terms. For instance, we can cancel off the c1 squares, the c2 squares, 2c1 c2, then 2c1 h1, 2c2 h2, 2c2 h1 and 2c1 h2. Once we cancel off all these terms, we will be left with h1 square plus h2 square, comma 2h1 h2. Thus, the earlier limit can be simplified and written as limit h tends to 0, h1 square plus h2 square, comma 2h1 h2 whole divided by norm h. Now notice that h1 square plus h2 square is equal to norm h the whole square. Therefore, h1 square plus h2 square divided by norm h is equal to norm h which tends to 0. On the other hand, 2h1 h2 is less than or equal to h1 square plus h2 square which is equal to norm h square. As norm h square by norm h itself tends to 0, 2h1 h2 divided by norm h also will tend to 0. Thus, this limit will be equal to 0 and hence the function is differentiable.